well, I'm going to invite my husband to come up with me. We're going to do something totally new and different. And he says, I'm out of my comfort zone, right? So we're going to try not to talk too long. Are you going to be on this side? He's going to be on this side. We kind of went over some things, but we're going to be talking today about some family matters in our own personal lives. We were on a sabbatical, yes, for 8 weeks. I'm going to need to keep crossing over you, but it'll give me an opportunity to touch you.
It felt like a vacation.
Yeah. Well, they told me it's not a vacation, but it was. It really was. We got to be with our kids. And so some people ask the question, what is a sabbatical anyway? Well, it is a place and a time. And I could go through a whole message on what a sabbatical is and the rest of the land and all of that in the Old Testament, how God honors it. And it's a time of rest, like the Sabbath day, giving it rest, relaxation, reflection, renewal, recommitment, a time to heal, refresh and rewind. Oh, and be renewed. Oh, more than that happened, huh? There's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. And this was our season of time. We'd never been on a vacation, had we? Well, 2 weeks was the most. Right. 2 weeks was the most. So we were headed out, and we looked very refreshed leaving, but we left a Ukrainian situation here that many of you took care of in cleaning up. And so we want to say thank you. Cleaned up stuff.
Well, it kind of changed our plans. I had us scheduled to be in Arizona on Monday morning, and then we had these Ukrainians come in, and we were here until
Friday, but we were wiped out.
Yeah.
We were wiped out.
So my plan was to load everything up, have everything ready to go. Sunday after church, maybe that evening, we would drive 2 miles, so it wouldn't be so far to go.
Wait a minute, how many of you women would say, yeah, we're going to go Sunday afternoon and be ready? I don't think so.
Well, I had everything planned to be packed up.
Yeah, that's a guy for you, right? Ready to go. We're gone. No, that didn't happen. Sorry. Yeah. So we knew that Friday we were going to be going to our daughter's house. She and her husband just got married about a year ago during the pandemic, and now she's pregnant. And so she was having a gender reveal. Oh, that was fun. She didn't even know what she was going to have. You said you wanted pictures of our family, because that's what we did. We spent some time with family. And so she didn't even know. My other daughter ordered the cake and told him to whether it was pink inside or blue inside of that cake. So it was kind of a split. And so they were just so curious, weren't they? And all of a sudden they cut that cake and it was pink on the inside, and the joy, oh my goodness, the joy on their hearts was just unbelievable, huh? It was like, we're gonna have a girl, so we're gonna have a girl, and our son is gonna have a girl, and Michelle's gonna have a girl, and oh my goodness,
so
all these girls.
2 girl grandchildren coming.
Yes, this fall, yeah. September, October. Here's a picture of Faith. Many of you know her. You know the story of my son and his wife and Christine, and how God changed her and removed addictions from her life. This is the miracle baby that happened some 10 years ago, that they were able to get pregnant, and she is just growing up. Isn't she growing up? Oh my goodness. And look here, here's here's Faith, and here's little Jonathan. We never thought that they would ever get pregnant again, but God freed her from all the drugs that she was on. I think there were probably 20 something like that. It was a lot. But praise God. And you see CJ in the background. He's preparing to have a little girl. See, so he's over there playing.
Playing with trucks, that's not preparing for a girl.
Well, hey, you never know. Girls can even drive trucks too, right? Well, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. It was at that particular evening on that Friday. We got there about Tuesday, Wednesday on that Friday. I was not very well, and it kept getting worse and worse. I ended up in urgent care. Definitely not what I wanted to do. It was a very difficult time for me. They put me on 3 different medications. Some people say, maybe because you were wiped out. I don't know. I've been on antibiotics even in February and sick then. And I began this is a time for renewal. So I had to really search out what I was doing that was causing my body to get sick so often. Who likes to make changes when you don't want to make the change? You know, nobody. So there were some major changes that I had to make in my life. And it started while I was on this trip. We began to search out and we listened to books, and I said, if all of the renewal is going to happen because of my health, I'm going to have to listen to what God is saying. I tried to make the changes before and I couldn't. I have to eliminate gluten and dairy out of my diet completely. And too TMI, too much information, so I'm not going to tell you all the ramifications and all the consequences of that, but eventually my body gets run down and I have, I don't even know how to describe it. There's so many things that Rob has had to put up with over the years. I started seeing great health and healing in the weeks to come, but the first 2 or 3 weeks, I really was not in a good place.
So Mother's Day, she stayed in the trailer.
Yeah, not my plan, right?
No.
Plans are in a person's heart, but you know, God's purpose was different. And you know what? I was so sick, I really didn't care. You ever been there? Until about 3 or 4 days later, it was like, oh my goodness, I missed out on being with my family for Mother's Day. Boo-hoo, Rob, we got to stay another week here so I could be with my family.
So luckily, when I planned this trip, I only planned the beginning and the end. So everything in the middle was open.
Thank you, Jesus.
It worked out pretty good. I just asked the resort, can we stay another week? Oh yeah, not a problem. So we stayed another week and we got to spend time with family.
Yes.
Or Becky got to spend time.
Yeah, Rob was out golfing and in the pools and stuff like that.
I was enjoying
I
family.
I couldn't do that. So I thank the Lord for your prayers. I know you were praying for me. And so after that, we were able to go for pizza at different times. And I had a wonderful salad, and I'm learning how to do gluten-free. And so
I think Phyllis would have really enjoyed this place. This was a pizza place, and it was a huge organ, a pipe organ in the center of this place, mm-hmm. and they played the organ during the time of eating pizza and stuff. It was really
unique. Yeah. Okay, and this is our grandson, Jonathan. He's the youngest, and of course, the youngest is always the entertainer, right?
Yeah, and there's times when kids are kids. They cry, they want something, and you don't know what to do. Well,
waiting even for pizza. I mean, they don't have the patience.
So I had some dried mango, gave him a piece, and it was like giving a dog a bone. He took that mango, put it in his mouth, and he was good as gold.
For an hour. I mean, he would just suck on that thing.
He didn't eat it. He just sucked on it and just tasted it and stuff. And I'm thinking, wow, if that's all it takes to make a kid happy, everybody should have dried mango in their home.
But honestly, he would just give you that look like, I'm happy, boy, I'm happy. And so
we did not try to take it away from him.
No, not at all. He was the entertainer in the family, and so he would do all this stuff. But he was an outdoors kind of guy, and so we learned pretty quickly that you got to go for ice cream or get out of the house. So there we would go, off to get ice cream, and we would be in the pool, and he just really enjoyed being out in the water, and so this is faith there with Rob out there, and honestly, there's another one, there's little Jonathan, and then there's another one of Faith. We had a great time with our family. We were able to do things too.
Yeah.
So Faith was recognized at the Christian school that she's at, and we were able to be there and attend. And I just thought, thank you, Jesus.
These are opportunities that we normally would not get to be a part of, which was really cool.
Special, really special to us. My daughter is a teacher, Michelle, the one who is pregnant with the little girl. And so we were able to go to her school. It was the last week of school. Timing was perfect.
You were able to go to her school.
Oh,
My son and I went and played golf.
Yes. Okay, sorry. He went and played golf. We went to the school and had brought her a lunch and a meal. And then off the road we were again, right? Be still and know that I'm God. We had a lot of time to be still and know that he is God. So if you ever need time to just be alone, Rob's the kind of guy that likes things quiet while he's driving. He's, this is a miracle that he's up here, okay? Let's just say that.
She just sprung this on me last night, and I go, really?
Yeah. Be still and know that I'm God. So when you're driving in a truck, pulling a fifth wheel, you have a lot of time to be still and know that he is God by watching and looking around. Sorrow is better than laughter, for sadness has a refining influence on us. You say, well, while you're on the trip, and social media, they always have all these pictures of everybody smiling and all this, every joyous, all this occasion. I will have to say I cried many times on this trip. Not many, a few. And in those times of sorrow, I began to have time to reflect on the loss of my mom in January. I had time to reflect and grieve. And as I was crying, there was things of sorrow in leaving my family in Arizona and driving off. And sometimes we think, oh, we want everything to be joyous. We want everything to be filled with laughter. But that isn't reality of life. And there was even a time yesterday when I was trying to finish off some of the slides. I was weeping and weeping and weeping. And you say, that's terrible, Pastor. Yeah. And the Lord just sat there with me and just said, I just want you to know you just let it all out. I hadn't cried in years. Cried at my mom's funeral and a few things, but...
I thought it was me.
You never know what's going on inside of the heart of a person and a mind.
We were pretty close, 8 weeks in this little home.
Yes, yes.
I was glad to find out it wasn't me.
You're just finding out. It has a refining influence. It changes us because we're more tender towards people. It has a refining influence. If you haven't grieved in a long time over the loss of a loved one, if you're not grieving and you're not weeping, you're missing out on the influence that it has. If you're always searching for the next laughter and thing of joy, you're missing out. And so I began to learn that God said, I want you to grieve, and it's okay. Just let it out. Let it out. Let it out. Grief, sorrow of wrong done, things that God's revealing, sorrow over loss, sorrow over change, sorrow over letting go, whatever it might be. Each time he said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. Lord, I got to go back to work. Am I strong enough? My grace is all you need. Isn't he good? So, Paul says, now I'm glad to boast about my weaknesses so that the power of Christ can work through me. God is good. Sometimes we see our limitations. And when you're still before God and you're taking time alone with God for 8 weeks in a fifth wheel, sometimes you can wonder and you see things that you regret, that you're sorry for. Beautiful landscape that we saw.
So a lot of times in traveling, I would research the internet and think, where are we going to stay next? Trying to plan our destination, not to go too far because Becky didn't want to ride in the car too long. So
he learned really well.
Yeah, so leaving Arizona, our goal was to get to Colorado, and I thought, well, I need to stop somewhere in between Arizona and Colorado because that's a pretty long drive. So I found this place that was highly recommended. It was a restaurant that was like 4.5 stars, and they had a campground at this restaurant in New Mexico. So I thought, it's a little bit out of the way, but I said, that sounds good. We can get a good meal, have a place to stay, then we can finish our trip to Colorado. So we headed that way, and just as we left Arizona, I don't know if you got on the news, New Mexico was hit with the largest fires they've ever had in their history. And the wind was blowing 50, 60 miles an hour. pulling a trailer like that, it was just unbelievable in these 2 lanes. We get to this place, and the wind's blowing like crazy, and they said, well, just find a place that you can park and then come in and pay for the spot. So the campground was really small, so I made one tour and found a place, so I started backing in, and somebody comes running, you can't take that spot, you can't take that spot, I paid for that spot. And I'm thinking, okay, it was, in doing that tour, that was the only spot we were gonna fit in because we had a pretty good sized rig. And the owner came out and said, well, you know, I can have you stay in this pull through, so we did that, and it worked out fine. So we thought, okay, now we can go enjoy this restaurant that online it said if you plan on eating dinner there, you need to make reservations a few days in advance because otherwise you won't get in. So we thought, wow, this is going to be a really good place. So we walk in, and as soon as we walked in, we found out why you had to book it because they only had like 5 tables.
Yes.
So it was really a
It
cracker
wasn't
box
like what
of a
they
place.
said it was. We're thinking, is this the restaurant? Oh, this is it. This is
And
it.
the food was okay,
Yeah.
but the one thing they really advertised was their pastries and desserts and stuff like that. So I asked her, I said, what do you have for as desserts? Well, you know what? And as we were sitting there eating, we see all these people coming in, grabbing stuff and leaving. Well, what they were grabbing was all the pastries and all the desserts. And so that by the time we got ready to order something, well, no, I don't have anything. I have 1 scone left. So we took the scone, and it was...
Yeah, at that point, I'm not eating that.
So it was really good, but there wasn't a large supply.
Not everything is as you think it is.
So don't believe what you
Everything
read on the internet.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we learned, okay? So beauty, as we were traveling, and Rob would stop by on some of these places because he knew I just needed places to stop, and this creek coming down. And then we started heading to Silverton, Colorado, and walking through the shops, and I really enjoyed that. And we had lunch, and then this train pulls in, and Rob describes as 1,000 people coming out of this big long train. And
well, this is a train that takes off from Durango that takes people up to Silverton. It's a fun trip to get on this train and ride up through the mountains up to Silverton. We've done this in the past. And anyway,
we're just thankful, Rob.
I'm thankful that we drove and were there early enough to have lunch, because we just finished lunch and this train pulled in, and I think there was over 1,000 people got off this train. And
now, they say pastors exaggerate.
Oh, people just kept coming
and
and coming and coming. And I'm thinking these restaurants in these small towns, they don't have the help to be able to serve people. And then once we got ready to leave, there was lines out of every little restaurant that people were waiting to get in, and we just thought, wow, we timed that perfectly.
Okay, what did you see in that little town?
And on the way out of town,
Yes.
I noticed off on a side street.
I don't notice these things.
There was an RV that I thought Kevin and Kelly are looking for.
Come on.
RV.
Anybody else want to go on a ride with us?
He says it can't be too big, and it has to be something that we can sleep in. And we thought this would be perfect.
I think you could get a good price for it too.
Yeah. So anyway, we had to take a picture of this. It was kind of funny.
Okay, and then we went down this little tiny road, and we are really running out of time because we're talking so much. But we went through this town, and it was a Nazarene thrift store. And he's pulling this big, huge truck, and we're just got to go 25 miles an hour, as he said. And then he sees this word Nazarene, as big as anything, and he says, "We've got to stop." Of course we can stop.
So luckily there was a place along the road we could just park, so we stopped and got out and went in there. And let me tell you, I've been in thrift stores, but this store was amazing. How clean it was, how organized it was. It was huge. And the first thing I did is ask the lady, so is this really a Nazarene thrift store? Well, we're not connected to our church so much. We do everything here. Everything that we earn goes to missions.
Nazarene Missions.
And I
So
thought that
church
was
started
really
it.
cool.
It was beautiful, and
Yeah.
all their workers are from there. Then we moved on to Colorado. It reminded us we got to see snow. We went on bike rides. We went through the
Garden of the Gods.
Garden of the Gods and rode. And then Rob decides he wants to climb this big, huge mountain. I mean, come on, Rob. The next picture shows. And he's all the way at the top. I need to show you how far up he climbed. He didn't go by himself. No, he took the dog. So I zoomed in a little bit so you could see. And then I'm thinking, oh, he's got to come down. This is when you pray about all things, right? All things. Pray about all things. We got to Colorado and we were able to visit. We were in Colorado Springs for 10 years and we got to visit our neighbors. Rob was the kind of guy who worked on stuff outside.
Yeah, we did huge sets for Many Lights of Christmas, and any time I did stuff like this, I mean, neighbors were going, "What in the world is he building?" And it was these huge sets we were building, and these were neighbors that were very curious.
So we invited them to church. Yes, and they're still at the church, the Nazarene church there. Don't underestimate who you invite, and don't think that God's using you. So invite your friends. We worked with this gentleman. He was Jerry Scroggins. He was an airline pilot. He helped us tremendously when our daughter broke her back. He helped fly me out there to be with her. He always dreamt, he says, I feel like I'm supposed to be a pastor. He retired from that in the military as well. And then now he is the executive pastor there at Colorado Springs First Church in the Nazarene. Then we have Ernst, they were on staff there, and we did a church plant, and you see Ron Bynum there. And while we were traveling, we had this beautiful river outside the back, and I still was healing a lot in that time, and he would just say, come on, let's go play cards. We would go out and play cards out there right by that river, and it was so refreshing, so renewing. We would go and we would begin to head Wyoming. Where were we headed?
Well, we had to go through Wyoming and stuff, but we ended up in Idaho.
Yes, we wanted to go through Idaho, and friends told us about Shoshone waterfalls. And look at these. Are these not magnificent? It is just a breathtaking to be able to say, God, you are amazing. You are an amazing God. He built our faith in this. And so then we were going to travel, and guess who we saw in Idaho?
Got it.
Where's the picture? Where's the picture? Where's the next picture? There they are. There's Charlotte, and Weston was actually born here when we were here, and they moved away, and Brooke said, no, come by, get a lunch. We're going to have lunch for you. So for you, they all just wanted to say hi, and what a joy that was. Sometimes people don't realize how much of a difference they make in our lives, right? Make a difference. And they encourage us. We encourage one another by being together.
I got to tell you, the only way we were able to take this picture is Charlotte showed us how to use our phone and put a timer on it.
Yeah. Way to go, Charlotte. Oh, boy. We're really being vulnerable here. As the deer longs for streams of water, so I long for you, God. And while we were going up Oregon coast, I am telling you, water everywhere, right, Rob? Water, water, miles and miles of water. And then there were the power plants. I mean, it was like, come on, stop hoarding the water, right? Because we come home and guess what we see? Water restrictions, right, on our property, which, how do you water all this grass?
So as soon as you cross the border of Oregon to California, it was brown. And then the lakes, Lake Shasta we crossed over was almost empty.
We would ride bikes along the water. We rode bikes. It rained while we were gone. It had all kinds of weather. We went by the beach. We hung out. And in this next picture, I'm just here to remind you, well, maybe it's the next one. I don't know, but the next. Yeah, but the next, we were by the beach, and this reminded me about the time spent with Rob. It was renewal and strengthening of our marriage. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
was good, Rob. Oh, that was good. That's priceless.
Did I answer that okay?
Oh, but it really did. And so it's renewal and refreshment in our relationship with Jesus. It's with one another. And so this verse, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart and your soul and your mind, Jesus said. He says this is the first and the greatest commandment. And there's a second one like it. It says, love your neighbor as yourself. And until we get ourselves right, until we get this part taken care of, it's very difficult to love on other people. And sometimes we neglect ourselves. And God began to show me some things. And he's still showing me some things. But it was this trip that really helped renew that. Here's a picture of Rob. We went a lot of pathways and I would go walking. And there was some renewal there for Rob because if anybody knows Rob, man, we found this golf course on the Oregon coast, and we'll go through.
Yeah, I was along the Oregon coast, and I was looking to see where I can play golf, and the cheapest place I found was $100 and some, and I thought, there is no way I can afford that. I can't play golf here. It's just so expensive. So I had this thought, well, let me go to Groupon. And once I went to Groupon, I found it less than half, and I thought, oh, wow, this is great. So then I called them and said, hey, if I come, can I bring my wife if she just rides? And they said, oh, yeah, that's fine. So they not only did that, they allowed us to tee off separately, so we were able to have that whole golf course to ourselves to enjoy. Becky got to walk and
I was getting stronger, and I walked. We went on that course twice.
So we did that twice.
And I walked more the second time.
Beautiful course.
Yep, it was beautiful. Then we ended up, our main goal was to be in Washington where our daughter is. And here's Brinley, a picture of her. She loved our little Belle. And this is our grandson, Tyler. We played tennis a few times. I'm thanking Jesus again. I'm becoming stronger, and I'm realizing the choices that I'm making are making a difference in my life. We went on track meets. They were track, and so all kinds of stuff.
When you have grandkids are really active, so they got them involved in track. They did shot put, javelin. They did some running events, and it was
beautiful.
Different things. It was really
watching
fun to
them.
be a part of.
And some of you, your grandkids live around here, and you get to experience that. And we felt like this is just unbelievable. My daughter here, we took Rob out for Father's Day and treated us to a dinner out. And here's Brinley. We got to go to her school. They had a drama play, and she was a narrator. And so later on some of the evenings, we were having s'mores. I mean, look at these pictures of my grandkids. Father's Day on that Sunday, we could go to my daughter's church 2 times. In fact, all of the services, 4 of them were women preachers that day. I mean, what are the odds of that?
Yeah, Colorado Springs was the children's pastor.
Newport, Church of the Nazarene,
awesome
Oregon.
Testimony in her life. We went to Newport Nazarene, and there was a woman pastor there. And then we were in Washington, which our daughter preached both of those Sundays.
Okay, and you can go on. And these are a couple pictures of the family a little bit more close up, and our 2 granddaughters out there. Heading home, God's timing, God's plan was perfect. We had to take care of some business with the home of Rob's parents. They were remodeling and redoing everything, and just the final payment, the payoff of that home. It was just some problems that we needed to deal with. Beginning of our trip, I signed off the paper on my mom's home that first week we were there. End of the trip, worked out some details with Rob's parents' home. They had passed away a few years ago. And then we ended with our anniversary, a dinner here locally of 41 years, our anniversary. Yeah. There is a time, I'm going to call Sam and his team up. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. How are we spending?